Before we get started, I would like to thank Tweaked Audio for helping sponsor this show. You listen to podcasts, obviously, so you know the value of a great pair of headphones. Get your own from Tweaked Audio by going to tweakedaudio.com and using the coupon code Southgate. With that code, you get 30% off on your order, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Order today and show your support to go fund this. Welcome back again to Go Fund This. We've got a bonus episode for you this time. Since we posted earlier in the week, we're not going to give a tip, but we've got another great one lined up for the next show, so don't miss it. We do have an update, however. Infinium Book 2 Volume 1, The Voyage Home, has a goal of $2,200, and as of right now, it's at $350 with 29 days to go. That's plenty of time, but Rich and his team are going to need help to make it happen. Please share this project with your friends. Put it out there on social media. Hey, one easy way you can do this is to share the last episode and tell followers to check it out. Infinium is a great book and deserves your support. Today, I'm interviewing Matthew Wolf. He's got an exciting Kickstarter to share that I know you're going to want to check out. Here's the description from Kickstarter. Shadows and darkness stir. The tides of fate are coming. Gray is dying from the blood pact. He stands on the precipice of life and death and must resolve his vow made in blood from the enigmatic Fae. Farhaven, as a whole, is threatened by a new evil. Mathelstan, Thief Lord of Waters, seeks the title of Master of Shadows, head of all the fiefdoms. In an effort to consolidate power and save his city, Mathelstan steals the Ronin's blades and puts Darius before the crucible of fire. Nefarious pirates, giant sea battles, sea serpents, and much more await in this thrilling next installment of the Ronin Saga. Matthew Wolf is kickstarting the fourth book, Tides of Fate. I'll have links to Matt's social media and the Kickstarter in the show notes, so please check it out and support this project in whatever ways you can. And now, here's Matt. Hey, Matt, thank you so much for joining me today. I am super excited to talk to you. See how I did that? It seems like we haven't been talking for an hour already.
The last 30 minutes.
So Matt, why don't you tell the audience, before we get into what the project is, let's talk about you. Tell them about yourself a little bit.
Gladly. So I'm the author of the Ronin Saga, is what I'm most notably known for. It's a epic high fantasy series, best-selling. It's going to be 9 books planned. The idea behind it has kind of a Lord of the Rings world and scale and medieval feel, with its own magic system, and obviously dragons and elves and all that good stuff. Its own languages, meets kind of these knights of the round table. And the 9 knights were these great heroes, the Ronin of wind, of water, of fire, your classic elements, even the Ronin of flesh and metal. And they were these great heroes in their day and age. And now they are these kind of dark legends. So it's all about kind of these young heroes that who become these reborn versions. So that's what I'm most notably known for. I started writing when I was 18, and I was a totally different major back then. I was an astrophysics major, which sounded cool at cocktail parties and all that. And so now the first book was independently published in 2014. And the second and third were kind of relatively hot on its heels. And now I've just released on Kickstarter and soon to be released on all platforms, the 4th book in the saga, Tides of Fate.
Yeah. I got a lot of things to unpack in what you just said there. So first of all, astrophysics major for the conversation is kind of an excessive way to go about that, but I'm going to say impressive.
Yeah, it was definitely, I was definitely going for, and I was 2 years in. So it was like, people, sometimes I discount it, but I'm like, yeah, I did 3 years of calculus and all that. And then I dropped it all.
You know what? It happens. I went to school originally for acting, and I ended up getting an MBA. You never know where you're going to lead. And now I'm doing this, and I'm like, okay, well, great. This is what I love. Anyone paying attention to since this show has come back, though, would note we have had quite the group of smarties on this show. I've had, I'm going to put you in there with this astrophysicist thing, not just being a writer. But we've had some pretty smart people, doctorates and all sorts of things. So pretty cool. Tides of Fate. Okay, this is what I want to talk about with this. You know what? Let's get this up front. This is book 4. Yeah. We have 28, by the time this airs, 27 days to go. The goal is $12,000. We are already well on the way. So one of the things people ask about with these Kickstarters is what the risks are. Well, you've got none. We already know that there's nothing there, and it's definitely going to hit its goal. Your goal is 12,000. You're already at 10,000. So congratulations. We know this is going to be a winner. We'll talk about stretch goals after this. That's where it's going to really matter. But here's the thing. There are potential risks for other people, but I was reading through your Kickstarter. You've already done the beta reading on all this and everything, right? This is a done book.
This is a done book. Everything. This is the cleanest. It's like I am just hounding to get it out there. I've done. I've done 3 Kickstarters. Well, I've done 8 Kickstarters total, but 1 for each of the books. And so we have a pretty good deadline, kind of figured out the routine of it. But now, so book 4 it was done about, I'd say 6 or 7 months ago, as far as like almost final stages. But I've been polishing it. I've had my beta readers go through. I did one last proofreading of it. I sent it to the book designer. And so it is, other than getting the actual offset printing, Tides of Fate is almost in my hand, which means it's yeah.
So for the backer, I mean, there is 0 risk at this point. It's not like people that like, hey, I have an idea. I mean, this is a done deal. So that's phenomenal. That goes a long way. And you're book 4 into this thing. How many books did you say you were doing?
So it's going to be, there's 9 elements. There's 9 books planned. Each one's going to be about finding the next elemental Ronin in the different cities. So book 2 was City of Fire, going to the City of Fire. The kind of book 3 is City of Sun. Book 4 is the City of Water. And so that's the original plan. I will spoil it on this for you guys alone, that as we've been kind of going on, they've been going to multiple cities in different books. So we might get, 7 or 8 books. We might get 9 or 10 books. It really kind of depends how each book is about 600 or so pages. It's kind of they're their hefty tomes. They're the Sanderson kind of esque worlds. So as long as we have full arc, we're going to be looking, so somewhere between 7 to 10 books is what it's looking like.
That number keeps changing.
Oh, it's changing constantly. I'm so slippery about it, to be totally.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, it reminds me also of like Sarah J. Maas's books, the Throne of Glass series.
Yes.
When my daughter got into that, she read the first one. She was like, these are amazing. And she thought it was going to be a trilogy. And she got the box set of, 9 or 10 books. And now she's like, there's supplemental books and short stories and other things. But it's great. When you have a world like this, it's really fabulous. And your book 4 in, you've got it going on with this.
Yeah. We're deeper in now. We have novellas, short stories. I remember when I was writing book 1, I was like, man, like 9 books, what am I doing? Like, I'm just, but now, it's kind of unreal. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh, like I'm outlining book 5, kind of deeper outlining. And like, so we are, 60% in. So
now, do you self-publish all of this?
Yeah, all of it's independently published, all through me. I've been lucky to have, kind of a team. So, but it's all me.
Yeah, that's the way to go. I mean, personally, you know me, I'm an indie guy, so I love that. This is quite an undertaking, and I love that. I was looking through your stuff here. I saw that. I mean, your cover art, your art, interior art is amazing. I know one of your stretch goals, you add new alternative interior art. Is that correct?
Yes.
So before we get into what the tiers, the reward tiers are, let's talk about those stretch goals a little bit.
Yeah. So I kind of hoped and figured, you never know, you want to keep your expectations unknown, but with book 3 doing so well and all the other Kickstarter doing so well, I kind of knew we were going to hit our goal, or I'd hoped. So I'm really excited for the stretch goal. So we got on just like the basic one, the first one, as soon as you get it to the next 13,000, we have these really cool elemental bookmarks. So anybody who's backing at a physical level will automatically get one of these cool bookmarks. We'll automatically include it in. But then we go up to 14,000, and this is where it gets really fun. So we have our artist who did the cover artist, Flavio Bola, would be doing entirely new interior artwork that would fill the book. And so he's promised to do somewhere between 4 or 5 or 6 images.
Wow.
That would be just like the cover of this cool giant water serpent. So he can fill, and we can find our favorite scenes. So that would be automatically included in the story, which would be super cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. I was just reading Shannara. And they're great, right? So I'd never read them. I'm reading the first book, and I bought it in paperback. And the old paperback had extra artwork in it that the other paperback version does not. The Orbit's book one doesn't. And man, when you get to those paintings, it just makes that story pop.
It's so cool.
I'm looking at this when I read new interior artwork, I'm like, oh yeah. Anyone interested in this, you got to do what you can to get them to that goal, because that's when it makes it so super special.
Yeah, I remember I was reading when I was a kid. It was Wizard's First Rule and Terry Goodkind, all that stuff, and he had a little short story called Dead of Bones. And then every like 10 or 20 pages, he would show, the grand. And I remember being like, especially because so much of this is in your mind. There's these 4 or 5 books, right? And people have a picture in their mind. But it's not a graphic novel, and it's not yet on TV series and stuff like that. So to see Flavio bring it to life when you've been dreaming or thinking about these worlds, you've been thinking about the City of Fire with its fiery incantations lighting up the night sky, or you've been, thinking about these different, characters or different magical creatures, and to see him kind of like, I used to, when I was a kid, I loved to open up the D&D like compendium books and just geek out over the different dragons and what they would look like, right? And so, and this would be the kind of canonical version of it. So it would be, originally I was thinking, oh, well, we could just I was going to rebrand all the books into leather books, in the next, 5-10 years or whatever, and deck them out with art and all that. Kind of like, I think Sanderson just released a campaign like that. But Flavio was like, you know what? I love doing the art for this, and if you could hit a higher stretch goal, then I would love to be. So for me, it's just giving back to the reader and just kind of getting, you love the book. Well, here's the book on steroids. Here's it just a little bit.
It's a phenomenal stretch goal, Matt.
Yeah.
It's really great. Okay, next one up is custom chapter heading art, which is also extremely cool. That's super cool.
I've just seen it a lot in a really cool fantasy lately. And so if anyone's on the Kickstarter, you'll see kind of an example of it. Again, I'm kind of stealing from Sanderson, but each one would be based on there's about, I think, so there's a plethora of different characters, but there's 6 or 7 points of view. So each point of view would have a different stylized chapter heading that's based on that. And we might even potentially be able to every single chapter be slightly different. And so it'll be kind of thematic little puzzle, almost like, for instance, it's kind of a spoiler, but kind of obvious since it's on the main cover, but there's a water serpent in the end of the story. And so it's
No,
yeah, maybe.
It's all over the Kickstarter too. Really?
Yeah, it's literally it's plastered. So that's not a spoiler, but there might be other things where you would see like the water serpent weaved into the chapter heading, so people would be like, "Oh, like I wonder what's going to come here," like the little almost puzzle pieces.
You know what? As an avid reader, I love that kind of thing. It feels like you're getting little clues, and it feels like you're more engaged in it. So that's another stretch goal that I think is pretty imperative. And your goal levels are low enough that where you're sitting right now, I think these are no brainers. It's just people got to get involved and support. From there, you go to additional chapter art at 16,000. More art, yay! and then TBA. So we won't disclose those, but I'm guessing you have some cool stuff up your sleeve.
I have some really cool stuff. I really want to, I want people to get kind of hyped on the mystery of that. But yes, I'm very excited. There's two things in particular that when we get closer, I might drop some little hints.
Well, I'm going to make a suggestion that you set a couple of more TBAs that go even higher, because I think you're going to hit that top one. I really do.
I think you're right. I think we're on a pretty good trajectory right now. So
yeah,
I think,
and it's just a hell of a project. Now, for rewards right now, people getting in, you don't have to go through all of them, but you want to highlight a couple of really good ones?
Yeah, gladly. So obviously there's people who, if you do know the series, people are just jumping and getting book 4. They're excited to get a signed copy. And we do ebooks, of course. It's nice because everything you see on the Kickstarter is going to be like the ebook edition. You get the all 4 ebooks, which is kind of nice. And then the big ones that I'm really proud of, though, that are usually the most popular, are going to be obviously the paperback set. So you get all 4 books. You get book 1 through 4. The hardcover sets. So you get 1 through 4 in hardcover. And then the most popular set we ran book 2 as an audiobook for Kickstarter. But the one we had, some people know the author Michael J. Sullivan. He's amazing. So he kind of gave us a little bump last time. And we had a set called the Hero Set last time for all 3 books. This is when all the 3 books were out. And I had I think 50 of them. I was capping them at 50, and they sold out immediately. So I started getting all these messages, and people were like, "Where's the Hero Set?" I joined specifically to get to catch up to get all the hardcovers. So I made another Hero Set for 50, and they sold out in 20 seconds. So I made another set. So I just decided to leave this one open this time, and I'm like, okay, all right, that's clearly the most popular set. So yeah, it's the Hero Set. You receive all signed editions 1 through 4, and you'll get Visions of Hidden, Legends, and Dreams of a Reaver, which they're all set about, I'd say somewhere about 50 to 100 years before the story takes place. And they are side stories to different main characters. So they're super fun. And a lot of them I haven't, Legends is, I don't think I've ever given that away in a Kickstarter. So that's kind of a cool one. So that one's unique just to this one. But all together, and I haven't looked at it, but all of these normally, I think the early bird, I think we have a few more early bird. We have 4 more early bird hero sets. And so all 7 books are normally in the 250 range, I think, altogether. So it's
they're getting a deal, which is great, but they're getting stuff that they haven't been able to get before, which is really cool. And it's funny that you said that, because when I was scrolling down, I was like, yeah, maybe we should get something. I landed right at the Hero Set. I'm like, well, I think that's the one you go with. So yeah. I think you're right. Although I bet you'd love it if people did the God tier.
I would love it. Yeah, I would love it. I can't go wrong with that one. So the God tier is super exciting. So we have the last 2. We have one is the Omni set. And Omni is one of the main characters in the story. The package, and so it's chance, as it says, to immortalize yourself in book 5 of the Ronin Saga. Book 4 is already, as we talked about, set in stone. But this is a great opportunity. I've had every Kickstarter I've given this opportunity, usually to 1 person, but this time I'm giving it to 2. And it is a chance for you to be in the story in one way or another. I had last Kickstarter, I had a guy named Joshua Gray. And he loved, of course, the main character's Gray. So I have a lieutenant in the world, and his name is Lieutenant Grayson, Lieutenant Joshua Grayson. And so now, and originally, I was like, okay, some of these characters might be almost extras. They come onto the world, and then they kind of they make their piece, and then they head on. But Lieutenant Grayson has become kind of a staple in book 4. So it's super exciting to watch a character who, and so we've chatted since then too. So I'm trying to add, mostly it was a kind of a name homage, but now his personality is kind of slightly being blended in. So it's cool. People who have read book 1 and book 2 and 3, and they're like, man, I love this story. I want to be a part of it in some way. Of course, backing and of course getting signed copies. But now to be able to literally be forever emblazoned into the story is pretty fun. So this time I decided to open up to 2 people. We already had 1 person back it so far. So we have 1 more of those. And people too, the last time I had someone back it, they kind of gave me their option. They're like, my name is this, but if you spell it in this combination, then I think that'd be a pretty cool fantasy term. And then the first one we had, his name was Ryan, and he wanted to rebrand his name to Rygar. That was like the D&D name he always played as.
Sure. That's cool.
And he was always a huge fan of Tim Gerard Reynolds too. He's like one of the ones that was like, get an audiobook form, get Tim Gerard Reynolds, who's my narrator. He's the best narrator ever. So when it finally was narrated and I got the sample copy where Tim is narrating it and he goes, and Rygar went into the pit of like so-and-so. And so I sent my fan and reader, I sent Ryan the copy, and he was like, he was just over the moon. He's like,
I can imagine.
Oh my God, Rygar's alive.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's so cool. Well, all right. So we've gotten it all out there. We know that we're storming along. We have 27 days as of the airing of this podcast. Do you know what the date is that it ends? Is it? It ends on November 5th.
Or 5th, yes, correct.
Yeah, November 5th. So saying 27 days if you're listening on Friday means nothing, right? But knowing that it ends November 5th, do not let this one pass you by. Get that hero set, because once you see it, you'll go like, yeah, I get why they're talking about that. And Matt, do you want to give, now we will put it in the show notes, but do you want to give some social media so people can maybe follow you, maybe ask some questions?
Yeah, gladly. I try to be as responsive as I can. So I have my Instagram, which is where I do a lot lately. I've kind of been transferring from my Facebook, which is wolf_writer. Facebook.com/Ronin Saga is where I post as well. I also have my email list. You can always sign up for my email list on my website, which is matt-wolf.com. And as soon as you sign up on the email list, or if you go to the Tides of Fate Kickstarter, you'll see you can download a free copy of Visions of a Hidden, either way. So yeah, if you just put your email in, you'll be a part of the newsletter. And I'm really light on newsletters. I only like to let people know when there's a new release, or if they can do a giveaway or something cool like that. So I really honor my I have a very awesome email list. I'm very cool, and I try to give people early releases on things like that. So everybody who follows me kind of gets kind of sneak peeks into the world of the saga. And then the last thing I do have too, and I don't mention it as much, but if you are a fan of the series, or you get into it and you're really into it, of course, you could get an Omni package or a God tier package and all that. But I do have a Patreon too. So it's patreon.com/writerwolf. Or you can type, Matthew Wolf author into Google and all that. And that's a cool way because I have my few avid fans. I think we're up to like 20 or 30 people. And I don't promote it that much, but you can get insider scoops into the story. Literally, you'll get a chapter that no one else will see. And then there's 2 more. There's a tier called Dragon tier. I don't think I know. And there's only 2 more spots left on that. And that's first editions for life. So yeah, we have every social scale, but yeah, if you become part of the world, then that's a great way to be a part of it as well.
That's excellent. All right, Matt. Well, thank you so much. Good luck with this. Like, you need it. This one's happening. But seriously, this is so exciting. I definitely am going to pick up these books. I am super into this. I think it sounds great. And I'm going to pimp something else. I'm going to invite those of you that listen to this show probably know that I also do a show called Alley Chats. There is going to be a part 2 where I'm going to have Matt on in the next couple of weeks, not only to talk about the Kickstarter, but really we're going to get more into Comic-Con stories and the adventures of creativity that we've been on and that kind of stuff. And then also at some point in the future, check him out on Read Between the Lines with my daughter, Molly Southgate. If you are into fantasy books, if you're into horror or sci-fi, she interviews authors. And Matt, you're going to stand tall with these authors, but I know she would love to talk to you. And I think you guys would have quite the conversation. So watch for Matt on all these different things. I'll put all this stuff in the show notes. Thanks again, Matt.
Thank you so much, Rob. It was a pleasure.
I've put the link to the Kickstarter in the show notes, and we'll also have it on posts at our social media. Once again, sharing this project with your followers and friends is key, so please be an active participant and spread the word. While you're in the mood, please share this episode. That draws attention to this show, which we can always use. Oh, and please rate and review us. It only takes a few seconds and makes a huge impact on how many people see when we post a new episode. If you have a crowdfunding project, reach out to me at southgatemediagroup@gmail.com, on Twitter @rsouthgate, or on Facebook at Go Fund This Podcast. Tell me a little about the project or what you create, and I'll consider featuring it on the show. I would love to help you make your project a reality. Thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time, go fund this.